Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformation. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx Speaker, Business Positioning Strategist, and International Best-Selling Author, Sean Douglas. This show is heard in over 90 countries. For the first time joining us, or you've been listening to us for some time, I want to thank you to those who are listening around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here, we tell stories why we're doing what we're doing, highlighting those transformational moments that changed our lives and how we use it to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. Now, you can listen to us live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, or you can join us on your favorite podcast platform by subscribing to the show. Life Transformation Radio can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Radio Public, Overcast, CastBox, Google Podcasts, and we're available on Pandora. So wherever you're listening from, please hit that subscribe button. And if you love the show, please leave us a rating and a review to let us know how we're doing. You can also join us on YouTube at Life Transformation Radio. On the show, the guests are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, coaches, podcasters, authors, amazing people impacting the world around them. And the guest today has done exactly that. If you have any questions for any guest that comes on the show, you can call us at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. And with that, I want to welcome my special guest today.
Hey, buddy. Hey, so I guess you got a big storm going on. You're cutting in and out, but it's perfect because it's just perfect because it's just perfect. I mean, it just can't be. I don't know if you know, but it's cutting in and out. I don't know if you can hear it on your end, but hey, look, it's perfect and it's imperfectionism, and so it's all good. So I don't know if you want to like call in on your phone or you still want to go through what you're going through.
Sure.
But I want to be able to hear everything about you. Go ahead and just here's the deal. Sean Douglas created this amazing Life Transformation Radio. He operated it for 3 years and has done a remarkable job. Almost 500 episodes. It's ranked in the top 2% in the world. And I have been fortunate enough to take the reins from Sean and be your new host here on Life Transformation Radio. So here's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to mute that, and I think that's going to be you, and I should be able to bring you on right now. Sean, you there?
Yeah, man.
Okay, that's better. Yeah, that's what's better. That's perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, way good.
So welcome to Life Transformation Radio. So here's what's happening. So I am officially taking the reins tomorrow on April 1st. Ain't no joke. It's Life Transformation Radio 2.0. So I thought it would just be so perfect to just talk about transformation of Sean Douglas because he is so incredible. He has done so much for the world, for his family, for our country. And I am so humbled to call him my friend. So today, we're flipping the script for you. I am taking over as the host today and officially tomorrow, but this is all about you, Sean Douglas. This is all about you.
Thank you, brother.
And, he probably set this up because I was a little nervous. So I used to be in radio about 15 years ago, and I could control all these things. So we're doing this live here on Blog Talk, and this reminds me of my radio days because there's a lot of different things happening. We have the ability to call in, and you can move different callers up and down, and we have a technical problem. He just jumped in like moments before we jumped in. So it's, what is this, birth by fire? Is that what this is?
Hey, man, performance under pressure. I know you can handle it.
Absolutely. We did good. It was great. And so Sean, I am pumped, if you can tell. Like, I'm really,
I
know I'm pretty calm usually, but I'm pretty pumped. No, I'm calm. So here's the thing. Why don't we talk a little bit? We'll give an update to people that are listening, just a little bit about how this happened, where I am now taking over Life Transformation Radio. And then I want to dive a little bit deeper into what makes you tick, Sean, because you're truly remarkable. You've overcome some incredible challenges in your life, and you've had tremendous successes. So why don't you just take us back to, when you started Life Transformation? What was the beginning? What was that like? How did it happen?
Yeah, man. So in 2016, I was writing my first book, Decisions, The Power to Overcome Self-Defeating Behaviors. And I knew where the podcast space was going because in 2014, I started hearing a couple of things about podcasts. We'd watch like TV shows that were like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just listening to a podcast. Like, oh, okay, podcast, okay. And I kind of knew like the iPod was supposed to do that one thing, but people put music on it, so it was whatever. And then some of the younger shows that were on, like there was a show called One Tree Hill that ended, I think, in like 2010, 2011, 2012. I don't remember. Right around there. But there was like, listen to the One Tree Hill podcast. I'm like, oh, cool, podcast. So, man, as far back as 2010, 2012, 2014, I started hearing about podcasts. 2016, I was doing the book, and I said, man, I need something to accompany the book. And I was like, oh, I'll just make a show about my book. And then I'll interview people about the decisions that they've made and things like that. And then I was just talking with my pastor and then was talking with a couple buddies. And I said, man, I really think that we need transformation. I really think that where we're heading, we got to be talking about the transformation of people, the transformation of business, just the transformational moment where you went from, like the bad webinar says, I went from a suck life to an amazing life, right? Like, what is that transformational moment, though? Right?
Suck life to an amazing life. I
yeah,
like that.
man.
I'm going to make a T-shirt for that. I love it. You
right?
need to put that in your store. A suck life
right? I need to put that in my store. Yeah, from suck life to amazing life. So here I am, towards the end of 2016, launching my book, and I was talking to my buddy Robert Thibodeau, who was guest number 1, who taught me what I know about podcasting back then. And we went through the rigmarole of everything, like what's the graphic going to look like? How's this go? So he's teaching me as I'm going. I interview him for the first time, and it was everything I could have hoped for and more. It was just an amazing feeling to be just interviewing somebody. And then I needed guests, then I needed this other stuff, but I was like, man, I really want to hit on the transformation of people. So I had like 14 or 15 questions. What was the best part about your transformation? What was the worst part about your transformation? And then I realized that as you ask questions, people will start answering them. And so you can cut down on like your question load, So I'd be like, well, what was your transformational moment? What was great about it? What was bad about it? Would you go do it again? Like just random questions. So season 2 in 2018, we launched a show in February of 2017. And I said, I'm going to do it in seasons. So January of 2018 was season 2. And now we're up to season 5 here in 2021. And I cut it down to 3 questions. Your why, a transformational moment, and how do you elevate the world around you? Because before the questions were like, well, how did you use that transformational moment to become successful? What makes you successful? It's like all these questions. And what I really like remember the most was that I had a couple guests on the show, like Bruce Buffer from the UFC, and what I loved about it is he was knocking these questions out of the park. And I was like, wow, I can really cut down on this. And then it got real emotional. Emotional real fast. I had one guest, Trish Roberts, and she said, yeah, I was a Broadway actress for 20 years. And I was diagnosed with MS. So now I'm a women's coach for women who are dealing with MS. I'm like, really? I was like, well, what's MS?
Wow.
And I already knew what it was. I was like, what's MS? What's this? And as she was telling her story, I was like, yes, like this is what I dreamed of. It was emotional. Women were calling into the show. Oh, my God, that's amazing. Like, I have MS. And I was like, oh, and that was like the transformational moment. It wasn't just, oh, I'm 10, 12 episodes in and nobody's listening. It was these stories that people were being told that I was like, yes, this is why I started the show, so we could tell stories about people who are going through and have gone through a huge transformational moment that has allowed them to do what they do now.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, you've had a lot of transformation. So you built it up and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm out of here. Or what really happened?
No. So I was doing a show, and I was talking to one of the guests who is also a veteran. And most people in my life will say, man, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you're active duty military, run businesses, and a live radio show, and a podcast. I started another podcast back in December. So you're working with clients to launch their podcast, their books, and everything else, and you coach and consult with people in their businesses, and you do a radio show, and you do editing of other podcasts that you launch. And like, how do you have time? I'm like, oh, dude, I got plenty of time, you know? Like, yeah, but you're going to retire soon. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm retiring from active duty military. Joined in November 2001. I said, no, I'm gonna have more time. And they're like, yeah, but like during your transition from military to civilian, like, how are you going to have the time? And it kind of scared me. I was like, oh, no. Like, June, man, I'm going to be, like, doing nothing. Like, I'm not working with clients. I'm launching all the books, the podcast, everything. I'm done with it. So how am I going to do a live show if I'm on the road? Like, I don't have internet. I don't know where I'm going to be. I know we're going to be in Utah. I know we got the house, but household kids don't get there till a certain time, and we don't get there till a certain time. Like, I'm going to be on the road traveling for, like, 10 days. How am I going to do a radio show? I guess I can do it from my phone, but, man, I don't know. So I talked to the wife, and I was like, hey, do you think I should stop my show? Like, do you think that I should just, like, quit it and be like, hey, I'm going to end at episode 500. Like, I'm done. She's like, no, I don't think you should do that. So, again, I talked to Robert Thibodeau from the very beginning, and I was like, hey, man, I don't know, man, what do you think? And he just goes, sell it. What do you mean sell it? Dude, don't stop your show. Like, your show is too good to stop your show. I mean, this is your signature. Like, everybody knows you for life transformation radio. Oh, man, sell it. And sell it to somebody who's going to continue on with life transformation radio. I don't know, man. I don't think anybody will buy it. Like, yeah, whatever, man. So that night, I put out a video on Facebook. And I had a couple people that I talked to. I talked to you, and I was like, man, I'm going to put this video out. We'll see what happens. We'll just see. And I had a bunch of offers. I was like, no way.
Here's the funny thing about this whole thing. So you called me, and I'm like, oh, yeah. Well, you know, I'm all about a business mindset coach, and I'm all about self-worth and worthiness and have people charge what they're worth. So Sean talks to me and says, yeah, I'm thinking of selling. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, dude, do not sell it for that. You need to double the price, like double the price.
Yeah.
And so I think that was it. So you finally got that it's really incredibly worth a lot. And just because of what you built and the lives that you've helped transform. And so, I just wanted to throw that in there because, this is where my coaching kind of backfired a little bit.
Yeah, no kidding. Because you're like, hey, man, I think you should really double the price. Like, I think that's really low. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to buy it.
No, I didn't even say that. I was like, dude, you need to double the
video.
Price.
But I put up the video, and I was like, hey, this is kind of what I want. Okay, let me just ask. Like, let me just see, right? So I kind of put out the price of kind of like what I really wanted to get for it, or kind of like my bottom dollar, whatever. And you're like, dude, I think you should double the price. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So, the video's out, and I got people calling like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe you're doing that. No way are you selling your show. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is your mainstay, man. This is you. And then other people were like, dude, I'm going to buy it right now. Like, I would love to buy it. I'm like, okay, we'll set up a call. It's, 7, 8 o'clock at night. I'm going to set up a call. Let's talk. Then Rob calls. Hey, man, saw your video. I'd like to buy your show. It was so funny. I was like, wait, what? He's like, I want to buy it. Like, I want to buy your show. Like, wait a minute. And so, ever since the end of February, we've been talking and running through everything.
And here's the cool thing. Here's the cool thing. I just want to jump in. Here's the cool thing, Sean. I knew very little about the show. Now, I know you think I've been on the show 4 or 5 times, but it's actually only on the show. I was never even on the show before I bought it. So the crazy thing is, every time we talk, and I'm like, yeah, so you're going to do your show? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm like, so when am I going to be on it? Dude, okay, I got to put you on again. I've never been on the show. Like, ever. And I'm like, so I really had no idea. What I love about Life Transformation Radio is your spirit and your essence. And it's interesting. And I want you to take this as a compliment. And I'm glad we closed our deal, because now I can tell you this. When I sent in my audition to Hal Elrod for The Miracle Morning, I'm the narrator for Hal's book, The Miracle Morning. When I sent him, I know exactly what I said, but my intention was that every single word and every core of my, and Hal was not even a household name anywhere at all, but I just had this insight, this feeling in my gut, in my heart, in my soul, that I needed to be the narrator for The Miracle Morning. Like, I just knew it. Like, that was the torch, that was the baton that I was supposed to carry. And it has transformed my lives in ways that I could never have imagined. 1, I'm a morning person. But 2, it allowed me to bring Hal Elrod's words to life. And I want you to know this, Sean. The same feeling and my commitment and my intention of like I usually would think a lot about auditioning. I'm like, he had a little bit of thing. I'm like, I really want to do this, blah, blah, blah. No hesitation. I knew that was the decision I want. I put all of my intention in. When you called, I was serving you. So I'm telling you, no, you need to do this, and serving you. And then it hit me. I'm like, I need to buy this. I need to buy this. And what's great is I talked to my wife, Tanya, and I said, I want to buy this. And I said, it's a chunk of change. She said, buy it. Like, I told her Life Transformation Radio, Sean, she knows you, Sean. She goes, buy it. She didn't ask about, hey, how many listeners does it have? Or are we going to make money from it? Or anything like that. And I didn't know anything, or I really didn't know what a platform you had. I just knew I was investing in you, and I wanted to be the person to take it to the next level, because what you've created is special. It's here for a reason, and it has transformed so many people's lives. And I am so humbled that you said yes, and I am so thrilled. I have never worked so hard since we signed on the dotted line to do this, of getting it ready. Because, and I told you this, I said, Sean, I want this, and I want you to know one thing. I am not changing the name. I am not selling it. And I want you to know that Life Transformation Radio is your baby. And look at me as like a man who's coming to court your daughter, and now I'm asking for her hand in marriage. And I promise you that I am going to be there for her and be there, support of her, and raise her up. And now you're passing the torch, you're passing the baton over to me, and I will hold Life Transformation dearly in honor of what you created.
I appreciate that.
And he said, let's do it. And it was a matter of minutes. It wasn't a long conversation. And I really want you to get this, Sean. It's because of who you are. It's you that I bought. I bought your spirit in Life Transformation Radio.
Appreciate that, man. That means a lot.
And, it's interesting because we've talked a lot more. I've still only been on the show like one time, and then that one time there was technical problems. So if you listen to it, you can't even hear a darn thing I said. So I've actually never been on. Oh, this is the first time actually in a calm environment where I'm actually on Life Transformation Radio. This is the first time, and it's okay though, because I want to focus this on you, and I just want to say that I'm thrilled to be the one who's taken the baton from you. And I want to make you proud. I mean, there's a lot that's gone on behind the scenes. It's going to all be revealed tomorrow. And I think you're going to be really, really happy and know that. And it's interesting because I've actually been offered to sell this to someone. And I said, not a chance, not a freaking chance. Maybe in 20 or 30 years, or maybe it can after I pass on. And I don't know, maybe my daughter will take this over. But this is in the Actis family. This is in the Actis family, and I hold this very dear. You've created something remarkable. I just want you to know that. So let's talk about you. You're in the U.S. Air Force, and first of all, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. I know that you've had some challenging things in your life, and I would just like people to really. You talk to everybody all the time on Life Transformation Radio, and we don't really get a chance to meet Sean Douglas. So just give an overview, not the business overview, but just who you are. People need to know who you are. They may think they know you. They don't know you.
Man, you put it that way. Yeah. So... I was born and raised in Detroit. My mom and dad split up when I was in kindergarten and first grade. And then my mom got with somebody else who became my stepdad. And from third grade to seventh grade, he was emotionally, physically, mentally abusive. He would go on his drunken binges and drugs. I mean, I grew up in an alcohol-dominated domestic violence household. I would walk out of my room and go to the kitchen. He's like, hey, empty my ashtray, smoking Newports in the house, and you go back, empty ashtray. He's like, it's not good enough. Do it again. I'm like, what? I mean, we were pretty much his slaves, When my mom wasn't around, he would beat on me or he'd, hit my sister or whatever, or do whatever he was doing. And when my mom, was finished with my mom, he'd come back to me, and it was just kind of how I grew up. My dad got us every other weekend, 2 weeks out of the year for custody visitation. And even he see, what was going on. And I don't know. So in my time from the time I was born to 18, I lived in 11 different houses and I attended 8 different schools because we'd get evicted out of a house. We'd run away to a different place and he'd find us and move in. And then he would go to jail one night. And then my mom was like, we're leaving. And then we'd pack up everything, we'd leave, and then he'd find us again, and then he'd come in the house again, and it was a cycle, man. It was just a cycle of stuff. We lived in my grandparents' basement for like a year, and then, not even a year. It was maybe 6 months tops. Third grade, I remember we got evicted, and we went down to my grandparents' basement. I spent 6 weeks in another school to close it out, and then I left that school district to another school district because we got a house during the summer. So it was 4 months. So I was in third grade, and then I went for 6 weeks in another school, and then I went to fourth grade in another school. 3 schools in 1 year. And so we lived there for a couple of years, and my mom was like, I'm done. I can't do this. I cannot do this. I remember getting picked up and thrown across the kitchen table. I remember getting, punched and hit and thrown up against the wall, and it was bad. So my mom.
How did you survive that? And how did you survive that? How did you survive that? How did you? Wow.
Just close your eyes. I remember coming home from my dad's house one time, and my mom was laying on the bathroom floor. I said, Mom, are you okay? And he's like, she's fine. And then you go in there, and her face is bruised and bloody, and she's got a towel over her eye, and Mom, are you okay? And she's just sitting there crying, on the bathroom floor. I'm like, oh, my God. And then my older sister was like, oh, my God, and, started yelling at him and stuff, and he came after her, and it was, this whole big thing. And I think one of the last times I remember, so my dad was, my Little League coach. My uncle was, my Little League coach and stuff. And anyway, so I grabbed a wooden bat from under my bed, and I hit him as hard as I could. Right in the stomach. I hit him as hard as I could. He was in the kitchen hitting my sister, and I remember I took the bat and just swung as hard as I could in the stomach, and it looked like it didn't even faze him. he grabbed that bat and hit me with it on the floor into the living room from the kitchen. And then my sister called the cops, and then my mom got up, and the cops came, and she called.
How old were you then?
Sixth grade.
Wow.
Yeah, sixth grade, so maybe 12, 13, maybe, something like that.
Wow.
So we went and lived back in my grandparents' house. For 7th and 8th grade, we lived in my grandparents' house again. So we lived there, and then we were trying to get our life right, and he was in jail, and no contact order, like all that stuff. And he tried to find us again. He knew where we were. He'd hang out outside the house in the street, just watching the house. Like, it was super creepy. So then we moved again.
That's creepy. Like
way out somewhere else. So then, I had a lot of anger issues in high school. People would say something crazy to me, and I'd fight them. I got jumped one time because I was beating people up, and then all of them ganged up on me one time and put me in the hospital when I was like a sophomore. And then I grabbed some more people that I knew back in the city, and they drove up to get my back, and we went and fought them. And it was this big, like, weird, not a gang war thing. Like, I was like, I'm never going to let nobody walk all over me ever again. Like, after all of that, like, no one will ever talk crap. Like, if you said something wrong to me, I'm going to punch you in your face. Like, I was suspended from school all the time. It was just, I just didn't want to take no more crap. Like, I was just, you get to a point, right, you're so sick of it. So I joined the military. I graduated high school with like a 1.9, 2.0, was not going to college. We didn't have any money to go to college. My older sister was going to college. And then, so I was working at Discount Tire as a warehouse manager at 18. And then 9/11 happened. I was like, this is my moment. This is my dare to be great moment. So I took my shirt off. I quit. I went home. I said, Mom, I'm joining the military. Went and enlisted in the Air Force. And then I left for basic training the day after Thanksgiving. And I've been in the Air Force ever since.
Okay. I want to just be in that moment. So you witnessed what happened on September 11th.
Yeah.
And you made a very strong decision to go and defend the United States of America and join the Air Force.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's incredible. And you've been in there ever since, and you're now very close to retirement.
Yep, a couple more months, and I'll be retired. I retire in June, and then I go on terminal leave, and we're going to move to Utah from North Carolina, where I live now. We're going to move to Utah. So wife's super pumped because that's where she's from. It's where I met her. I was stationed there from 06 to 09 in Depot. And then we'll just see where life takes me from there, I guess. I got the businesses that I do, and the other show, and the coaching and speaking, and we'll just see where it goes.
All right. Well, I want to talk about that in just a moment, but I do want to talk about, you had a rock bottom, and you are thankfully a suicide survivor, and that's a big deal. Yeah. That's a big deal. It's going to be interesting how people land with this. I do know that when you start talking about suicide, people are like, okay, I'm tuning out. They don't want to hear that. Well, It's more common than you think. It's more common than you think. And because, I've helped my friend Stacy. She's starting a new podcast called Suicidal Thoughts, which is raw, unscripted, or unfiltered conversations. Unfiltered conversations is definitely unscripted. Yeah. And the reason is because suicide is running rampant right now. So I know it's not always comfortable to talk about. I know you gave me permission to do that. Just share a little bit about how you hit rock bottom and how you moved through it to where you are now. Because people think that it's the end of the world, especially if they're going to try to commit suicide or they're thinking about it intensely, and then they think their life is ruined. You have shown that that's not true, because your life is not ruined. You have transformed so many people's lives. So just share a little bit about your rock bottom.
Yeah. It was tough, man. So got to basic training and tech school and got to my first duty station in England, and then deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, and was in the Middle East in 2003 when the war kicked off, dropping bombs, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And, everybody makes fun of the Air Force. They're like, oh, it's the chair force. You guys deploy to hotels, and we're not as cool as the Marines, and, we're not in combat, like all this other stuff. 2003 kind of changed the game. We were there. We were dropping bombs. Where we were in the Middle East was, like, kind of far away from, like, where the mortars and, like, everything else were going, until they said, hey, we need to forward deploy, and we're going to go ahead and test some runways out. We took a couple airfields during the liberation. We go test these airfields and see if we can land there and see if we can make it one of our airfields. See if we can really, like, take this over as one of the U.S. Air Force FOBs, which is a forward operating base. So we need to go. So we did. And we went to Kirkuk. And, man, I saw some stuff that it shook me, man. And we were there for a little while and testing runways and doing some other stuff, and glad to get out of there. But that was tough, man. I mean,
yeah.
Good for the Army and Marines and all those dudes that do that, man.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that I've never been in the military. I have friends in the military, and I saw photographs and heard stories from some of my friends that were in the first Iraq war. And my wife, Tanya, she was in Iraq, the very first one in Kuwait, the Death Mile, I think it was called. Is that it?
Yep.
And the stories that she has told me, it's the fact that who you are and all the military, that they are able to get up every day and to be transformed after what they've experienced and seen is just remarkable. And it once again shows who you are. So you're in a dark spot, and this was in Iraq then.
Yeah, so, I go through all that stuff, and we leave, and, I go back to England, and then I left in 2004 and went to Idaho, to Mountain Home, Idaho. So I was hanging out there, and, I was always been big into cars. My uncle, who was a guest on the show, talks about building cars. We always, built cars and raced, and that's kind of what we do in my family. Got in with the race crowd, got in with that. But I was heavily drinking when I came back from the military, from the desert. From that deployment, I mean, heavily drinking all the time. And then I got to Mountain Home, and we deployed again, and it's just like every deployment was like there's something else that happened. There was something else, and now it's enduring freedom, and now it's something else that happened. And, you see things. And then 2006, I went to Utah where I met my wife, and I was in a combat logistics support squadron. So we would forward deploy to recover aircraft that were damaged, like aircraft battle damage repair. They get shot in the wings, or they crash, or something happens. So we were worldwide deployable. Yeah. So we get phone calls like, hey, man, there's a jet that crashed in the mountain. We got to go get it. Like, holy crap. So there was a jet that
it's
crashed.
It's just amazing how matter-of-fact that is. And I know the military is very matter-of-fact, and they're like, yeah, jet crashed, and we got to go get it. Not like, oh, my God, a jet crashed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so we go get it, but it was so frozen up there that we could only acquire pieces of it, and we had to wait till it thawed out to go get the body. So that, like, messed with me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, he's just sitting up there, like, then you hear of, like, other crashes and, like, other things happening, and then, so anyway, we're in and out of AORs, which is area of responsibility. So it's basically what we control the airspace and, over certain countries and stuff. So anyway, we're out of AORs, downrange, like, all the time. 2008, I was gone 228 days out of the year, in and out of AORs. Got a bag ready. I got off of one plane got handed a set of orders onto another plane. Had to call my wife, like, hey, babe, I'm not coming home. I'm actually on another plane. I'm heading out. So we were gone for a month, home for a couple of days, gone for a couple of weeks, home for a couple of months, gone for a month, home for a couple of weeks, gone for months at a time, home for a couple of days, gone again. Like, it was just in and out all the time. And it takes a toll on you, man. It takes a toll on your marriage, takes a toll on the kids, takes a toll on your body, everything, man. So I'm heavily drinking at this point. I'm always drunk. Showed up to work drunk, got charged with an Article 112 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is a drunk on duty. So I'm like, well, my career's over now. My career's over. Blew a .12 at work. Did a blood alcohol test over at the hospital. They pulled me in. They drew my blood, figured out what I was at, and they said, "Man, you're done. This is it. You're done." So I'm going to lose my military career. I go home. I'm like, this is my life. Everything that I think is amazing gets torn apart. So then my wife's like, you know what? I think we should divorce. I'm like, oh, cool. There's another one. Got it. So I'm losing my wife. I'm losing my military. She had 2 young kids, right? We had, she had a kid from previous, engagement or whatever, and then we got one, and it's like, babies, right? So I'm like, this is ridiculous. So she leaves like right before Thanksgiving, like right around Halloween. She's like, I'm out. I'm leaving. So she's living with her mom. I'm in our house. And I remember, they were like, hey, we're going to talk about some things. And, we got to go talk to this guy and this person and this officer and this judge and this, that. There's just all these cops involved and everything. And I remember like Christmas Eve, was like the greatest time. Like I love Christmas. My wife and I, we Griswold our house. We're not doing anything for Christmas because we're separated. We're getting a divorce.
Wow.
Papers are in.
Oh.
So Christmas Eve, I was drinking Jack Daniels, which was my drink. My drink was double Jack and Dr. Pepper, but I'm drinking straight Jack. Got a bottle of Jack in one hand, and I'm walking around the house, and I'm crying, and I'm throwing pictures, and like I can't live like this. Like I'm never gonna be better. Like you know who I am? Pretty much like my ex-stepdad. I'm pretty much like him. Except I don't beat nobody, but I yell and I got a temper and I got anger issues and, like my dad didn't even want me. And like, I'm going through all these scenarios. They're probably not even true. Some of them are probably true, but most of them are probably not even true. Talking bad about myself. Like nobody wants me like that. And I remember that I got a gun in the closet. So as I'm sitting against my bed, I got a bottle of Jack Daniels in one hand, got a loaded 9mm in the other. And I'm like, I'm done. I made a conscious decision. I'm done. That's it. Can't take this anymore. I'm done. So
how did you? Yeah, I know I'm getting a little emotional, man. I love you. You're my friend, and yeah, that's a lot. How did you?
Yeah. How
did you not? Like what?
Well,
how did you not?
I didn't. So I'm sitting there. I got the gun. I'm like. This is, I'll be better off, because you start talking yourself into it, man. I'm like, I'm going to be better off. Nobody wants me anyways. I've pretty much ruined every relationship I've ever had. I'm such a bad person. I'm like, I'm going to be better off. Like everybody will be happy that I'm gone. I won't ruin anybody else's life. And it's like talking myself into this thing. So I put the gun in my mouth and I'm like, I'm done. Like I'm ready to go. I put it in my mouth and my phone rings. Wow. I look down. And it's my dad, who I don't talk to. We don't really like. It's not like on a day-to-day basis. We every couple of months, maybe every couple of weeks. I was like, whatever, man. So I do it again. Put the gun in my mouth. It calls back. I'm like, what? So I'm crying. I'm like, Dad, and he's like, hey, man. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I don't want to do this. And he's like, call me right back. I'm like, what? Hangs up. Call him right back. I was like, I can't do that. He's like, man, I've been there too. When me and your mom split. I've been there too. I was like, Dad, it's so hard and I can't do it. He's like, look, man, I've wanted to drive my truck off a bridge before. I wanted to drive my truck into a tree before. I've wanted to do this. I just wanted to ram my truck into a wall, man. Like I've gripped the steering wheel, just want to end my life. But you never know who you've touched and you never know who's going to miss you. I was like, nobody's going to miss me. He's like, no, somebody will. I said, Dad, I want to be done. Like I want to be done with the military. I want to be done with this life. I want to be done with everything. So we talked for a couple minutes. He's like, hey, man, go see a chaplain. Go talk to your first sergeant. Like, let's talk again. So I hung up the phone, and then I heard a knock at the door. I'm like, I'm not answering. I'm done. So the gun's laying on my lap, and then I hear the door open. I'm like, what? Like, what is going on? I don't remember if it was locked or what. And then people come upstairs. I can hear them, and I'm looking over, right, and I see them, and they run over, man. They grab the gun. They run over. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm done. Like, I'm so done. And I hadn't checked into work in like 3 days. I haven't been to work 3 days.
Wow.
So my supervisor and my boss and like some other people, like they came to the house to see if I was okay. And so they grabbed the gun. They stopped me. And then at that point, I was forced to live with my supervisor for 2 weeks. He took all my guns, took all my knives, took everything, and I had to remain sober. So I go into this alcohol treatment program in the military called ADAPT, which is Alcohol and Drug Abuse Prevention and Treatment. Been there twice, actually. So I'm living with him, and he's like, you are to and from work, and if you want to go out somewhere, I'm going with you. So, like, parked the car at his house, and I stayed in the basement of his house, and we went to work together. He's like, I'm going to Sonic. You're not staying here by yourself. Let's go. So I get in the car. He's like, what do you want? I'm like, I'm not hungry. Started losing weight. I was like, man, life sucks. So at the end of the 2 weeks, I was going to counseling. I was talking to chaplains, had very heated conversations about how God hates me. If he was really for me and not against me, as the Bible supposedly says, and I can do all things through Christ, then why does my life suck? Why all of this is happening? And so we had heated conversations, me and this chaplain. Like shouting matches, like, no, God sucks. And he's like, no, he doesn't. Like, I remember arguing with who were also officers, coincidentally. And they always ask, like, are you going to harm yourself? Are you going to harm others? I'm like, probably, more than likely. So we go through this counseling, we go through everything else. And then I go through anger management class, and I was like, this class makes me angry. But I listened. I was like, okay, like, let's see. Right. So 2009 comes, and I'm doing better. I'm staying with him. I'm doing better.
Yay.
I'm not allowed to go home
Yay.
yet. And so I was like, I want to continue this therapy. Like, I think it's good. And so, man, I remember breaking down one time. I was like, my stepdad beat me. My dad never wanted me. Like, I was always the messed up child, my younger sister got everything. My older sister got everything. I got scrapped. I got nothing. I was always hated on. I grew up with nothing but women. They used to, verbally abuse me, like you suck, and like you're a screw up, and you're never going to amount to anything, and like that's all I heard my whole life, man. All I ever heard. I was just breaking down. I was just like, all this was just pouring out of me. And they said, yeah, I think you need, more mental health counseling. It's called life skills at the time. So I did that for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then right around the spring, right around like March of 2009. They were like, I think you're good. I'm like, I feel really good, like talking about it and like just having ways to kind of just deal with the anger and deal with the thoughts that I had, like I had no value. I just never valued myself. I used to do stupid stuff. I had a motorcycle. I would race like 120 down the freeway. I'm like, I hope I crash. Like, I really hope I do. So I would I'd go skydiving to see if my parachute wouldn't open. Like, I did things, like I'd go bungee jumping. I'm like, please let the rope break. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I would do things just to make sure, like, at one time, I'm going to run out of lives. Like, I got 9 lives. I'm hoping I run out of them all of them. But it never happened.
Sean.
Never happened.
Hey, Sean.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. It's birth by fire. Remember I told you earlier, you didn't give me the manual on how this works? So I'm looking at the countdown clock, and it says 1 minute, 37 seconds. Will it continue, or is it automatically just going to end? No, it'll automatically continue, and they'll have to listen to the end on replay. All right, it's telling me 90 seconds. So I don't know if we need to. So here's the thing. Okay,
it's going to keep going.
Will it end? It'll keep going. It's telling me give me a countdown in my ears. Are you promised?
Yeah, that's the live stream. No, that's the live stream.
Oh, got it. Okay. All right, got it.
So then the end of the show, they'll have to listen to the replay.
Okay, got it. Okay, good. Because I'm like, I don't know. And I didn't want to cut you off right in the middle. Okay.
Yeah, it'll keep going. No, it'll keep going. It'll keep going for like another hour.
Right. Yeah, we're not going to keep going for another hour.
We'll end it here in a minute.
This is too emotional for me. I'm going to cry.
Yeah, we'll end it here in a minute. So
you're feeling better.
So March comes around, and they're like, yo, man, you got a huge transformation. You need to go be a drill instructor. I'm like, what? You want me to go yell at people? Like, I already have an anger issue. You just got me out of my anger issues. Like, what the hell? Like, seriously, man. I got people to quit smoking. Like, people were like, I quit smoking. I quit drinking, like nothing. And so I was in the shop with people. I'm like, hey, man, this is how you quit smoking. And I was mentoring people. We about to smoke pit. Like, man, I don't know what to do with my life. Whatever. I said, man, I've been there. Like, I'm going to help you. And so I was helping people, and I felt really good about that. And so I applied to be a drill instructor at the behest of my chief and commander, and they said, hey, man, congratulations, you're going to go be a drill instructor. I'm like, what? Like, my drill
I just want to tell
crazy.
people, look, hold on a second, Sean. All right, we're ending the live, but
Way good. Way good.
No, I do. Okay, now I understand we're still going, but I'm just like, if you're listeing live,
we're still going.
Live bot. I know we are.
Yeah. So
I love that. Go ahead. Up. What? Up. Have you seen Letterkenny? Yeah. Okay, you know how you do? What? Oh, you know they do that? So
yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
So funny.
All right. Well, I'm glad. I'm thrilled that you did that, and that's a hell of a transformation. And
yeah,
man, look, Sean. Look at all the lives that you have transformed, and
yeah.
When my daughter was going to have brain surgery and had her 4 strokes, that's the one thing I told her. I said, Aiden, you need to be alive. Hundreds of thousands of people need to meet you because you're going to make their lives better. And you, Sean Douglas, have made tens of thousands of people's lives better.
Yeah.
So thank you
I hope so.
for having the courage.
That's my hope.
If I look at
the last 10 years of my life, and this is where the huge transformation, here's what it all comes to be. If I look at the last 10 years of my life, 13, 14 years of my life, from 2009 to now, so 11 years, 12 years. 2009, I go through that transformational moment. I go be a drill instructor. I learned how to speak. I learned how to train. I learned how to mentor. I learned how to coach. I learned how to be tough. And it wasn't easy. My wife and I got back together in 2009, got remarried. And then we separated in 2011. I wasn't drinking, but I was like starting to yell at her, and I was like, the house needs to be clean. And like I was TIing my wife and kids. And you can't do that. You can't be a drill instructor at home and at work. You got to shut it off. So then we end up getting back together in 2011. And then 2013, they're like, yo, man, you're done. You don't need to be a drill instructor no more, so it's time to go. So then we came to North Carolina. And then we have more kids, and, life is what it is now. But if you look at the last decade of my life, 2009, I have a transformational moment. I go and be a drill instructor. I learn how to speak, train, coach, and mentor. And then 2013, 2013, I deploy again, come back in 2014, kids are born. I then become a master resilience trainer for the military. I become the wings, the lead on the base of 4,000 military, lead trainer and lead suicide awareness trainer. And I'm teaching suicide stories. I'm teaching all of the stuff that I've gone through, everything I learned. I'm teaching from my own experience. And then 2015, 2016, I wrote my book. 2017, I launched a show. 2018 is a coaching business. I'm speaking everywhere. 2019, more coaching, more speaking, more everything. Launching podcasts, launching books. 2020, last year, worked with more people than I've ever worked with before. Made more money in a business than I've ever had before. 2019, I start my clothing line, LYB Clothing Inc., which is an affirmation and empowerment clothing line, trying to empower people through clothing. I start that in 2019. 2021, this moment happens. But if you look at the last decade of my life, 2008 had to happen. If you go back 20 years, I had to be abused. I had to have that life because that gave me the experience. That gave me the moments to carry with me to tell my story. That came so many tears and so much heartbreak, but I needed that. And everything that happened has led to the next thing. I had to have that transformational moment. I had to try to commit suicide so that I could help people and change people's mindset from the suicide moment. I then had to learn how to tell my story, being a drill instructor. I then had to have a platform to tell my story on, Master Resilience Trainer, a book, a podcast. I then took all of that and made what the coaching business is now. So I look back and I'm like, wow, God is so good. He made everything happen the way it was supposed to happen so that I could live the life I'm living now.
That's a lot. That's a lot. I would say you, Sean Douglas, definitely had a life transformation. Okay, so you're here. I'm taking the reins, sort of today, officially tomorrow. as we wrap up, what's next? How can people follow Sean Douglas?
Yeah, so the website is thesuccesscore, CORPS.com, thesuccesscore.com. I also have my new show called Create Launch Monetize Podcast. And I'm all over Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and all that other stuff. So, I'd love to get emails and messages. You can email me at Sean, SEAN, @thesuccesscore.com. You can listen to Create Launch Monetize Podcast on every podcatcher that is available. And, I just want everybody to keep listening to Life Transformation Radio, because I know behind the scenes the guests that are coming on the show are going to blow you away. If you think the stories that I had on were emotional, wait till you hear some of these stories. Man, it's going to be amazing, the guests that come on the show, and I'm excited to see the direction that you take it, man. I really am. I'm pumped to kind of just birth this thing and then watch it flourish into the world, man. I'm so pumped.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for creating this, and thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for being alive to empower, inspire, and motivate, and teaching people how to live their best life, and that even in those dark times, that light is ahead.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, I want you to do, law enforcement officers, when they retire, they do their last radio call. So I would like you to do your last wrap-up of Life Transformation Radio today on March 31st, 2021.
All right, man.
I told you my goal is to make you cry. I know. There's tears. Sean's a big, burly Air Force military guy, super scary looking. And people say he's kind of scary because what are you, 6 foot, what? 6'3", 2, 1?
Yeah, 6 foot.
Yeah, he's kind of a big guy.
6 foot,
He's not
220
kind of big,
pounds, man. 6 foot, 220 pounds, man. I'm a big, hairy American winning machine.
Exactly. All right, so it's time, man. This is it. This is your moment.
Yeah, man. So, Life Transformation Radio listeners, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for all the support over the years. And I wish you the best for the rest of 2020 and beyond. Make sure you subscribe to Life Transformation Radio. Make sure you share it with your friends. And be sure to listen live as Rob Actis takes over as the host of Life Transformation Radio. And as I close, I always say, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you have deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live an amazing life.